Saturn transiting the 7th house cusp. This happens once in 29 years it continues for about a year, the whole process. It can be very intense for a few months during that year. And you can feel it a few months before the first transit, the first hit of Saturn over the cusp of the 7th house, till after a few months after the last transit of Saturn over the 7th house cusp, because Saturn can transit there up to 3 times within a year. And sometimes it can transit just once, but you will feel it around that year, maybe a few months before and a few months after the exact transit, maybe up to a year before and after. So what happens? Wherever Saturn transit, it wants us to restructure that area of our life. It wants us to take one long, hard look of our life in that area. And 7th house is all about others. It's all about relationships. So it's a period for maturation when it comes to your relationships. If you've been free, spirited, caring, not too much the commitment type, when Saturn transits your 7th house, you start looking much more deeper and seriously on your attitude to relationship. You'd want something more committed, more devoted, more reliable and stable. You'd not be looking for excitement too much in relationships. Or even if you're looking, you tend to attract partnership or relationships with people during this period which are more mature, more serious, in some way more responsible, or they can even attract a relationship with someone with whom you have age difference, at least 7 years, younger or older, because Saturn rules age difference. Saturn is the planet of time and age. So I often see that Saturn can either block relationships somehow when it transits the 7th house, or make the person so, their fears about relationships become bigger, more, their doubts about relationship become bigger. Will I ever marry? Will I ever meet someone? The self-doubt when it comes to relationships, or the ability of others to make them happy, to satisfy them, the partner to satisfy them is somehow blocked because Saturn has a blocking influence. Or if they attract relationship, they will have to be a relationship of Saturnian character, which means with age difference, or someone more kind of critical, more mature, more strict on them, maybe a bit more judgmental, telling them what to do, which can create a tension in a marriage. If you're married already, Saturn transiting your 7th house, you can find that your partner, boyfriend or husband or wife is becoming more critical, more tough on yourself, or more distant, because Saturn has separative influence. So if the relationship is not very solid, or if it's been undermined over years, and you're not very happy within it, when Saturn transits the 7th house cusp, this is when it can fall apart. Or if you have a good relationship and Saturn transits the 7th house cusp, then your relationship is tested. But if you manage to keep the relationship together without drifting too much far apart, or resenting each other too much, by the time and overcoming whatever difficulties are thrown at your relationship together, then by the time Saturn transit passes, or the 7th house cusp, you'd realize that those difficulties that appeared in your relationship have actually made you stronger. And if the relationship is a real loyal one, where both sides equally give and take, and where both sides want to participate in that relationship, even though it will still be testing while Saturn is transiting the 7th house, it will make it stronger, and this test will strengthen the relationship afterwards. So it's not always when Saturn transits the 7th house you have separation with someone. If anything, it can put people more strongly together as a glue due to them overcoming difficulties together as a unit in relationships. But they can be strained in the relationship, as I said. Or for people who are single, relationship become of utmost importance during this time. And especially people who, as we said, usually have more lax attitude towards relationship, towards morals in relationship. They tend to, something happens during this 1 or 1.5 year period where they change their attitude and their moral attitude towards relationships, where they become more serious, more responsible in that area. They attract a partner who is like that and helps them develop more responsible and serious attitude towards relationships. In the worst case scenario, if you have difficult relationship karma, depending on your horoscope, Saturn transiting the 7th house cusp can bring, as we said, kind of painful experiences to do and painful karmic experiences to do with relationships. Maybe someone who you have karma with from a past life and you have to resolve it comes, and they hurt you. Maybe that you've hurt them in a past life and they have to hurt you back now in this life to teach you not to do this again, or to teach you that maybe someone can trample on your heart or leave you at the same time. Somehow, in some way, you're paying back karma when it comes to relationships. If you have difficult karma from past life, not everyone has. You have to have a pretty difficult seventh house for this to happen. But usually it's a period when a person feels a bit more starved when it comes to relationships, more serious about it and with more fears about relationship, but only so they can restructure their attitude, overall attitude to relationship, to more mature, more responsible, where you don't take advantage of another, give more or take more in a relationship. So Saturn can create such situations in your relationship where one is giving more or one is taking more, or you're taking more, you're giving more while it's transiting, so it can show you that it's not the right way to do relationships. When you become aware of it, when you feel the pain of this inequality, Saturn makes you to want the equality, to want the fairness there, to want the equal relationship of sharing, not only someone who takes all the time from you or someone you're using so if you have such unhealthy habits when it comes to relationships, Saturn can make those relationships malfunction or blow back in your face, because Saturn is the bringer of karma. Whatever you've sown, you start reaping when Saturn comes. So if you had a unhealthy attitude to relationship, or a relationship where you undermine yourself and do too much for the other, and let another trample over you, or you do this to your partner, it might be the other way around. You might be the bully or someone who is usually taking advantage of others, or not very committed or not very responsible to them, or you've been cheating or something. Saturn comes around and you see the consequences of your actions. You see the consequences of the I can't say sinful things you've done, but more immoral or more unbalanced things you've done in relationships. So that's why this is when relationship can be tested. So you need to, if you want to keep a relationship going or attract a good relationship during this period, which sometimes can be hard, you need to be very moral, very responsible. You need to have a very healthier attitude to relationships, and be careful who you allow next to yourself during these periods, and a person usually becomes much more careful. Their judgment system about who they allow in their life is restructured and becomes more mature, because usually they tend to burn themselves. If you're not naturally someone who maturely judges a situation and a person who to let in for their heart as a partner, business partner, or personal partner, when Saturn comes around, someone comes and you do a mistake, you allow someone who tramples on your heart or who lies to you or something, and you see the consequences of your wrong choices, so you become much more careful. Or if you're naturally careful about such situations, when Saturn comes around, you will, it can just, make you even overly careful about such situations. It can make you too kind of tied up in a knot and not allowing others to close in you. But it's one of the good Saturn transits, because it makes so much, once the transit has finished, towards you having better judgment in who to let into your life, towards you becoming more serious and responsible when it comes to your relationship. And Saturn is a planet of contractual relationships. So often people can get married. You've been in a relationship for a long time or for a few years, and Saturn comes around, crosses your seventh house cusp, and you want to fully commit, to become much more responsible and committed to this person. So Saturn can bring deeper commitment in relationships as well. But it always brings it somehow in a more pained way. It's never in an easy, breezy, happy way. Oh, I'm so in love with you now. I really can't wait now to marry you. It's usually like the partner demands you to commit or to become responsible, or you feel like time is ticking out. You need to settle down. You need to commit now. So you hurry. So you decide to do this contractual commitment Also, it can be actually a good productive time when it comes for business, because seventh house rules all interactions with another, give and take, whether love affairs or business or marriage, So this is the house of getting business partners or writing or getting contracts, especially if you're self-employed, if you have business uh, deals and you have to sign contracts with others, because Saturn is the planet of work and seventh house is the house of trade and business. You can become much more busy then. You can sign up some pretty important and deals that put a lot of responsibilities on you. Because Saturn, whatever it passes, it brings more responsibility. So you can sign yourself into a much more contractual responsibility, whether into a marriage or into a business deal. And whether that's good or not, it's for you to judge it. But usually you enter into long-term commitments during this period with a more heavy and responsible state of mind. And sometimes people might often have fears around those issues when Saturn is in the seventh house, and they have to face those fears and still do it anyway. So it's not always when Saturn transits the seventh house that the worst things happen to relationships. No, relationships are tested so often, and they are bonded even stronger if they overcome this test. And they go often to a different level when Saturn transits the seventh house. Another thing that I've seen, seventh house represents faraway places, foreign countries. So it's another thing that I've seen is people moving to live in a different country, relocating, going to another place. Often it's to do with abroad places. But not like moving your house from this house block to the next street or something. It's usually like long distance relocation. It's possible, not for everyone, maybe it will happen for 20% or 10%, but this is one of the possible outcomes of Saturn transiting the seventh house. And yes, so also people that come into your life right now, not only love partners or relationships partners or business partners, any kind of people that come into your life, they're more mature, more responsible people, who can teach you, who can be more critical towards you. Saturn is a critical planet, it's like the hard taskmaster, the discipliner. So the disciplining in your life can be coming from others right now. So they kind of hard on you, they tell you have to do this or you have to do that. And often can come from the marriage partner, that the marriage partner become demanding and critical towards you, or the people that are close around you, people that you let in your vicinity, that you cooperate, collaborate with. And because of that, they can help you improve in some way, unless you take things too critically and too personally and you make relationship blow up in your face, because often this can be one of the extreme reactions when Saturn transits the seventh house, that you separate from a lot of people because you react too sensitively to criticism. But that's in the worst case scenario. In the best case scenario, Saturn will help you remove people who are no longer needed in your life, who are just like a burden there that you keep dragging around, and they're just stopping your fuller development in life. But often person is not willing to let go of those people and experiences it as a painful process. They feel like, oh, I'm losing this friend, or I'm losing this person in my life, or okay, I'm moving to live away. Oh, it's so painful separating from all those people. But I'm just here to tell you that if this is happening when Saturn is transiting your seventh house, separating you from others, you have to realize, and especially if it's separating you from them, not because you're being a brat and you hurt them in some way, or you abuse your power them, but if life separates you from these people just because of circumstances are so arranged, like you haven't done anything wrong, you haven't, abused them in some way, cheated on them, lied to them, if it happens because circumstances so arranged when Saturn transits your seventh house, it means that it's time to let go of those people. It's life has a new beginning, it has a new phase prepared for you, and every separation is hard, but you need to make space for the new. And Saturn gets rid of the old dross. And another interesting thing is that when Saturn moves, the seventh house cusp is basically the western horizon. So Saturn for the past 14 years have been moving below the horizon in your horoscope. So kind of in the invisible part of the horoscope. And once it moves the seventh house cusp, which is the western horizon, it starts moving towards the for the next 7 years from now on, it will be moving till it reaches the top of your horoscope, when you achieve a lot of recognition, where you achieve like a pinnacle of career, when you achieve a pinnacle of busyness in your life. So for the next 7 years, your life will be getting busier and busier starting from that year. It's like you're rising out on the horizon. You're showing when Saturn goes into the seventh house, and for the next 7 years, 8 years, it will transit to the highest top house of career. You'll become more and more visible, more recognized. You'll become very busy with worldly responsibilities, with responsibilities for with a partner, for career, and usually career starts picking up from the moment Saturn goes into the seventh house till it reaches the 10th house for about 7-8 year period, when it peaks 7 years from now, and you're looking more and more towards reaching the peak. Your focus goes in that area. And now for this 1 year, the focus is in relationships, and how Saturn wants to teach you how to do relationship properly, fairly, how to do business properly, fairly, how to do sharing, giving and taking fairly, and how to the right people to let in and allow to stay in your life, how to treat them fairly. Saturn is teaching you all those things, and how to allow them to treat you, not to allow them, or to want people to treat you. And this will be of great help within the next 7 years, because with these skills that you now learn, with these new qualities that you acquire now, and new outlook and attitude towards others, you'd achieve much more within the next 7 years towards the climb of success that Saturn starts for you right now, which you will achieve within a 7-8 year period from now. Okay, I think we covered everything for now. So please share with us your stories. What happened with Saturn transited or is transiting now your seventh house? How is it changing your attitude to relationship? How is it changing your relationship? Are you getting married? Are you getting divorced? What is it bringing you? Do you have good karma that is being, unfolded there, with bringing you responsible, organized people, help people who are more business-like, more mature, or is it bringing you past life karmas, people that you have, that it's a payback time? It's interesting to see that. Share your story so others can learn from you as well. Thank you.